Hello, I'm Shavette Jeffries, and I too have a learning disability. I was in first grade back in 1970 something and was told that I was different because one, I was left-handed, and two, I was a slow learner. I comprehend slow, I did my math slow, everything was just slow about me. I grew up in a house where I had 5 brothers, no sisters. My parents were from the South, so therefore they didn't have that much education. So when I started in first grade, I was told that I had a learning disability. Not explained what learning disability, but I had a learning disability. I remember my mother telling me that we had to go to the hospital, and they did all types of tests on me. They put me in a room where they did different things where I had to learn about this shape and look at this picture and look at that picture and tell me what does this mean, what does that mean. It was just a big old room where there was a big glass where it was just me and the lady, or the nurse rather, that was testing me, and my mother was on the other side looking in, watching. After we did the testing, went to school. They told my mother I had to repeat first grade because I was a slow learner and that I basically wasn't catching up where to the other kids were. Again, I had to repeat with the same teacher that I had previously failed and start all over with her again, I thought she was the meanest thing ever. In second grade, I had some problems again, but it wasn't until I was in third or fourth that they put me in special education, and it wasn't an immersion at that time. I noticed that I had to go out of class for certain subjects, and then that's when I realized that, okay, well, maybe there is something seriously wrong with me to where I'm actually in a special class with all the other kids that were not the same as what they deemed as normal. Just recently, I had reached out to my high school to see about my educational records, to see what they might have put into my file, to see, what exactly was wrong with me and why was I special? Why was I in this special ed class? Why was I in, class with kids that were different from everybody else or seen as abnormal? Of course, when I received my records, everything was archived already. The only thing that they had put on there was that I had taken a special test called Metropolitan Reading Test, and yeah, I saw the results, and it came out to being 0% right for reading and 15% or maybe less for math. So it's obvious that I had some kind of learning disability, but I still do not know what kind of disability it was. It wasn't until I got ready to go into 9th grade to where you had to fill out your paperwork of what classes you wanted to take, and it was either college prep or VOTEC or general. I, thinking that I was smart and intelligent, filled out for college prep. It wasn't until my teacher called my mother in for a conference, and the guidance counselor of my alma mater told my mother that I shouldn't go to college. She just has too many learning disabilities. She has too many problems. I think that she shouldn't go to college. Well, I was also told that I was always getting things wrong, or things was different because I was left-handed, and that it was not deemed to be, appropriate back in the 70s and early 80s that, left-handed was the wrong hand to be. You should be right-handed. But I always said that, left-handers were always in the right state of mind, so it couldn't have been too different. Just to go back to where I was leading up to, that they told my parents that I shouldn't go to college, and that I was, I should pick up a trade because that might be a little bit better for me, as well as it might be a better career choice for me. Well, let's just say after graduating from high school, I went on to college anyway. I had my bachelor's degree. I graduated with a 3.5, and just recently in 2011, I finished and got my master's degree and graduated with a 3.5. So apparently, they didn't know what they was talking about. I also was told that, because of your learning disability, that you probably wouldn't mount out to anything. I was a teacher for a couple of years, and I am still teaching to my children at home. I am the mother of a son who is dyslexic, and he reads his book upside down. He also was tested to be gifted and talented achiever. He has the highest recording score for the GATE, or the gifted and talented test, that he has taken in San Diego, California, back in 2009. It's just that having a learning disability doesn't mean that you're not smart as everybody else. It doesn't mean that you can't be the next president of the United States. It's just that we take our time doing things that are required of us. So a learning disability, I don't consider it as a disability. I think it's learning achievement. And that's how I'm teaching my son that, no, it's not a disability. It's not holding you back from doing anything. It's helping you to achieve things that other people can't achieve, such as reading upside down, such as being able to understand things that most people can't. Prime example, my son, when he first started school, we would go over reading and do things, as well as I would teach him math. Well, the one day he decided that he had got the best of me, because he was in first, or maybe he was in kindergarten going into first grade. I had asked my son, okay, well, since you know what your mathematics are, let's see if you know what your multiplications are. I asked him, what 2 times 2? And he happened to be sitting there just playing with a little toy, and he was just sitting there playing, and he was like, Mommy, it's 4, out of the blue. And I'm sitting there like, well, how did you know that? And you're only between 5 and 6 years old. I never showed you a flashcard that has 2 times 2. And my son proceeded to say, well, Mom, if you take the X or take the plus and turn it to the side, you get your multiplication. Who thinks like that? He just amazes me on how he thinks and how things work in his world, and how things just comes together, and what's normal for him might not be normal for somebody else. But it makes you think. It makes you wonder, how does he come up with these answers? And I just love that about him. And I just remember growing up when I was young, especially whenever I did something, according to my mom, the reason why I had to repeat first grade was that I couldn't cut with scissors, because they didn't have left-handed scissors then. So I had to repeat first grade because I couldn't cut. That didn't make sense to me. That didn't make no sense. And I'm pretty sure that wouldn't make sense to anybody else. But why would you hold a child back because they can't use scissors? That didn't make sense. So, what did I do? Being the smart one, I stopped doing everything. Since you told me because I'm left-handed and I can't cut, well, I won't do anything else. I stopped writing. I stopped doing math. I stopped doing everything. I even stopped listening to the teacher because you told me I was left-handed. Left-handers was wrong. You just can't do that. So I stopped. And as an educator, you're supposed to be there to support the student and to show them that it can be done and that it's okay to be different. But my teacher back then, that was a no-no. Left-handers was not the way to be. Well, after some years now, and after realizing everything that I went through and some of the things that my son is going through, that we were just alike. And I have finally realized that maybe I, too, am dyslexic. I do know that I suffer from dysgraphia because my writing, you have to pretty much either lean your head to the left or to the right to make it seem like it's normal and straight. But I just know from my experience and all the struggles that I went through when I was in school that I was determined and deeming that my son, who has the same learning disability, will not have to struggle and will not be told by a so-called teacher or educator that's you're not going to be anything, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. I'm determined to change that way of thinking and to let them know that just because we might do things different, that is not right. And that it should be okay for us to do what is normal as well as easy as well as comfortable for us to achieve our education goals.
Can we talk a little bit about Rashawn when he was in kindergarten and what you found about his reading and then what happened in first grade?
When he was in kindergarten, he used to read his books upside down, and that was more comfortable for him and it was much easier. He was proficient at everything in kindergarten. Kindergarten had no problems, no worries, no concerns, no anything. I would ask the teacher, how was his day? Was there anything different? Was there anything abnormal? Even when we had a parent-teacher conference, I would ask, and I would never get that he had a problem with anything.
Okay. The teacher knew that, or was aware that he was doing his reading upside down, didn't have a problem with it?
No.
And he was fine?
She was perfectly normal. Whatever was easier and comfortable for him, she allowed him to do that because he was able to still, achieve that educational goal that she had set. So therefore, he was able to read upside down. He was able to write his letters any way that he wanted to. She might correct some, but not all. She just allowed him. It wasn't until we got into first grade that we started running into problems. Oh, I think he's ADHD. Oh, I think he's this. Oh, I think he's that. They wouldn't allow him to continue what he did in kindergarten versus, such as reading his book upside down. No, you have to read it this way. You have to read it this way because this is how it's supposed to be. And we ran into a lot of problems with first grade, and that's when I went and took it upon myself to go get him tested to find out exactly what was wrong. Because I knew my child wasn't ADHD. I knew he wasn't ADD. And I knew he wasn't BAD if they even thought that. But I took it upon myself, and we got him tested at the age of 7 and found out that he was dyslexic. And once we found out he was dyslexic, and we also found out that he did not have, along with his dyslexia, that he had ADHD or anything like that. I had 3 different doctors from 3 different practices to write me letters to state that he was not ADD or ADHD. I even submitted that to the school, and they constantly, every time we went up for an IEP meeting, they constantly wanted to be in, oh, he's ADHD, his attention is just not there, he's not this, he's not that. But I took it upon myself to keep fighting to say, oh, no, you're not going to give my child that label. If anything, you're going to be there to teach him, and you're going to teach him in a comfortable way. So if he reads his book upside down, let him read his book upside down, because that's how he is comfortable. I don't want him to have to adjust to what they consider normal. I want him to be able to be himself, and it's okay to stand out and be different, because I love being different. Yes. And we even went to a symposium, I guess, a symposium last year with the International Dyslexia Association, and they actually had a speaker. I want to say his name was Paul Mooney. I know the last name is Mooney. He's dyslexic, and he told his story, as well as he said, what is deemed to be normal? Everybody has their own definition of normal. So let's not try to force kids who happen to have a disability to be your normal, because it's not right and it's not fair. So first grade is when we really kind of hit a wall that they said, hey, this kid, there's something seriously wrong with him. He needs this, he needs that. And I was determined that let him read the way he can read so that we can get this educational achievement. But
they didn't do it.
They didn't do it.
Okay, so here we are now. He's in 5th grade.
Yes.
Okay, so there wasn't much change in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. You've been going through the same thing all this time.
Yes, as well as in 3rd grade, we actually got him tested, or actually this school district in California, because we're a military family, they did a test, the gifted and talented test, and found out that he was gifted and talented, and he scored the highest score. That is on record for, he scored a 99% on the test. And so we had to fight for him to get in to a gifted and talented class when he had the records to show that he is gifted and talented. They didn't want to put him in there saying that, oh, the principal told me he wouldn't get the services that he needs if he gets put in the gifted and talented class. And I told her, according to the Ideals Act, as long as he has his IEP, he can get whatever services need. He doesn't need to be in a regular classroom or a gifted and talented class.
Right.
He should be able to get the help that he needs. So it wasn't until third grade that we finally got an IEP for him. Now, we fought from first grade up to third grade to finally get the IEP. We finally get the IEP. He gets put into the gifted and talented class, but people were not coming to give him the support that he needed, such as reading and OT. So we finally got that in there. Fourth grade, they put him in an AVID class. Okay, we moved in 2013, got here. He gets put into the IEP, or we had the IEP meeting. I bring up about maybe getting him the Orton Gilliam, trying to get some kind of services in. Well, they were stunned that I would know anything about that. And they was like, well, how do you know anything about that? And I said, because I, unlike some other parents, I'm trying to find the help and the services that he needs. And I even had him try doing different things to try to get him the help, you know, to read. And it wasn't until we were able to get in contact with Miss Arena here to get the help, as well as get involved with you. And that's when we found out that, hey, he needs to go back to reading upside down because he can read. And we was also told in our first IEP meeting here in October that he was on a first grade reading level. Here my son is in 5th grade and can only read a first grade reading level. And I wasn't accepting of that.
Right.
And
And what happened once we met, which was about, what, 5 or 6 weeks ago,
yes,
maybe?
once.
Okay, and we basically said, you know, Rashawn, go ahead and do it the best way. Now, have you seen any difference in his reading and maybe his self-confidence?
Yes. Since we've been working with you, his reading has changed tremendously. His confidence has gotten so much higher and better. I mean, prime example, a couple weeks ago, he came home talking about, Mom, I don't know what to do. I have girls fighting over me. So his confidence has gotten so much better, as well as we found out that he needs to go back to reading his book upside down.
Wait till those girls see him read Harry Potter upside
Yes.
down. Then they'll really be impressed.
Yes, but we found out that if he would have just stuck with reading upside down, I'm sure
Yep.
he would be on grade level.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would be. Only because when he did it with you, I mean, I was so surprised and stunned that right after, I was like, wow, it brought tears to my eyes because here we started out doing the right thing.
You did.
And we had him on track. He was proficient in everything, and then all of a sudden, their normal came and bit us in our backside and messed him up. And now that we saw that he's going back to reading upside down, he has done tremendously. I mean, he came home on Friday and told us that he took the kneecap and his scores increased by 81%. So it's obvious that he needs to go back to reading upside down. Because that's his normal and that's his comfort zone.
Right.
So why can't we do that in the classroom?
Well, we can, you know, and eventually, once he's really confident, he'll flip it on his own. He'll be able to read it any way he holds the book.
Yes.
But the big problem is the confidence.
Yes.
You know, and he's been kept down since 1st grade and 2nd grade and 3rd grade and 4th grade. And when he gets his confidence, he'll be able to do it any way that he wants. You know,
Yes.
so.
But introvert is where he needs to be. He needs to be there until he feels the right time for him to change, not for us to force that time. Let him change on his own.
Exactly.
So that
At
way,
his own pace.
he would be successful. He's going to be successful no matter what, because we're going to fight for him and we're going to stand behind him 100%.
Good, good. Well, I'm with you. Okay. Thank you
Yes.
very much. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.